Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Ali and today we're talking oops babies and what to do if your chinchilla has a baby unexpectedly. Now this is far more common than you might think because pet stores sometimes missex their chinchillas and may accidentally sell you a male and a female. Also, if you've acquired a chinchilla from a rehome, this can also cause chinchillas to be missexed. For example, I've had this happen to me before. Someone reached out to me a few years ago and said they couldn't keep their chinchilla because of changing circumstance and would I be able to take a chinchilla on, and at the time I had room, so I said yes, that's fine. And they said to me on more than one occasion it was a male chinchilla, and then when I got to the place I sexed the chinchilla and it turned out to be a female. So yeah, it can happen from time to time where people don't know what sex chinchilla they have actually got. Now the question becomes, what do you do? First of all, don't panic. So one of the first things you need to do is actually remove the dad from the situation. So you need to have a spare cage for the dad, and you need to separate the dad from the mum. This isn't because the dad will attack the babies, far from it. Chinchilla dads are actually extremely good with their kits, but it's just because chinchilla mums can get pregnant straight away after giving birth, and you really don't want your chinchilla to be pregnant again. Chances are, if you found the chinchilla baby and the chinchilla and the dad's still in there, the chances are is they are already pregnant again, but you just want to remove them just in case they haven't done the deed yet. He can't go back in unless he's been neutered because you don't want any further babies. Second thing you need to do is you need to check the babies over. Now don't worry about getting your scent on the babies or anything like that. They're not like other rodents. They're not going to attack their babies if they can smell you on their baby. It's just something they just don't do. They don't care. So you can handle them from an hour old easily. Now what you're checking for is you're checking to make sure the chinchilla looks okay. So first thing you check for is to make sure their eyes are open. Now this is really important. Chinchillas are normally born with their eyes open. They're not like cats and dogs where they have their eyes closed when they're born. Chinchillas have their eyes open from when they're born and they can see from when they're born. Sometimes they get fluid in the eyes and it can cause their eyes to actually stick shut, and in those cases you need to get those eyes open, because if you don't get them open they'll get infected and potentially they can lose their eyes altogether. And I have seen many a post of saying, oh, my chinchilla baby still hasn't got its eyes open after a week. You think you need to get them open as soon as they're born. If your chinchilla has its eyes stuck, it can happen. It's happened to me lots of times. What you need to do is you need to get some wet cotton wool and dab it onto the chinchilla's eye very gently, and then gently with two of your thumbs try and prise the chinchilla eyelid open. This can be a little bit terrifying because they are so small and you don't want to damage them or hurt them in any way, but it needs to be done. You need to get those eyes open. Water does help with this, and don't worry about getting your chinchilla kit wet. They've just been wet because they've just been born, so don't worry, they dry out absolutely fine, so don't worry about that. Just try and get the chinchilla's eyes open. Now if you're not comfortable with doing that, take the chinchilla mum and the chinchilla babies obviously together to the vets, and the vets will be able to get the eye open for you if you're not comfortable doing it yourself. But if you can, try and get them open. Just check for anomalies. So have they got all four of their legs? Have they got a tail? Are their ears okay? That sort of thing. You're not going to know if they're healthy or not, but you can check for those sort of things. And although chinchillas do stumble around when they're first born, after they're about a day old they should be able to walk and move about on their own. If they can't, then there might be something wrong with their legs. Now the next thing you need to do is to weigh your chinchilla kits and note it down. This is so you know what their starting weight is, and then you can weigh them daily to see if they're growing. The first few days they may actually lose weight, they may lose a few grams, but then after that they should start gaining grams every single day. Now it might only be 1 or 2 grams, but they should be actually increasing in weight. If they're not increasing in weight, it could be that the chinchilla mum doesn't have enough milk for them. Okay, so once you've done all your check on the chinchilla kits, the next thing to do is modify your cage to make it kit safe. If you have a big cage like a double critination cage, I would suggest splitting it in half and giving them access to only half of the cage, because large cages are not safe for chinchilla kits because they can climb from a very, very early age, and if they were to fall, that they can really injure themselves. The smaller the cage, the better, and they need to have bar spacing that's no more than 3/4 of an inch. Anything bigger than that, the babies can get through. If you've got a large cage that can't be converted into a smaller cage, then I would suggest just buying a small kit safe cage for your chinchilla. Another thing you need to do, if you've got lots of ledges in the cage, you probably need to remove these, just because chinchillas again can climb, and if they get up onto the top of a ledge and then fall down, that can seriously hurt them. If your chinchilla has access to a wheel, you need to remove that, because chinchilla babies shouldn't be on wheels. So the next thing I would do to get yourself prepared is to get some ingredients to make up chinchilla milk substitute if your chinchillas need it. So I personally either use goat's milk or I use evaporated milk, and I water it down, so 1 part milk, 1 part water. You also need some way of dispensing the milk, so I use an eyedropper and feed the chinchilla kits that way. Now the important thing is do not feed your chinchilla kits extra milk if they're gaining weight. If the chinchilla mum looks like she's doing a grand old job, leave her alone to do her job. It's only a case when your chinchilla kit is struggling and not putting on weight, that's when you might need to intervene and top up the milk. I have a video showing me feeding a chinchilla baby, so if you want to look at that, if you're not sure, you can look at that video. The next thing to do is, if you can, try sexing your baby chinchillas. This might be quite hard for someone that's not experienced, because when they're small it's more difficult to tell whether they're male or female. If you're not sure though, you can always send a clear picture to an experienced breeder and they may be able to tell you whether you've got a male or female. Failing that, you can wait till they're slightly older. As they get older, it gets more obvious which ones are males and which ones are females. Now once they're a week or two old, they will start eating solid food as well as being fed by mum. It's quite common for them to eat both. As they get older, to about 8 weeks old, that's when you have to start weaning your babies. The process of weaning a baby is just literally removing them from the mum and making sure they are eating solid foods on their own. Now if you have a mixed litter, so males and females, you need to separate those as well, because believe it or not, chinchilla kits can actually become pregnant at a very, very early age, and you don't want that. So if you've got a mixed litter of males and females, you need to remove them and put them into separate cages. And that needs to be done at about 8 weeks of age. Yes, that's what you need to do if you have a baby chinchilla. It's not to panic. If you're not sure, contact your vet about it. Check your baby, make sure they're growing okay, and so the majority of the time the mums will do the work for you and they will look after chinchilla babies. The things that you need to do is remove the dad and make sure she has a safe environment to feed and look after her chinchilla babies, which means a small kit safe cage. So I hope you found this video informative, and I shall see you in another one soon. Goodbye for now.